Everyone, welcome back to Kubrick Corner with me, Sean Wilson. So there's a new Netflix action movie out called The Old Guard, directed by Gina Prince Bythewood, adapted from Greg Rucka's graphic novel of the same name, starring Charlize Theron as one of a group of ancient immortal beings who have basically traversed centuries of mankind fighting in various battles, various wars, various conflicts. Um, and at the start of the movie, she and the rest of her team, which also includes Matthias Schoenaerts from Far From the Madding Crowd and Marwan Kanzari, aka Wimpy Jafar from the live-action remake of Aladdin, they are all betrayed by an operative played by Chiwetel Ejiofor from 12 Years a Slave, and they have to go out and locate the reasons for the betrayal, all the while incorporating a new recruit into their ranks, played by Kiki Lane, who is a soldier who realizes that she is also blessed with these powers of immortality, and at the same time that she is being incorporated into this group, how does she grapple with this all of a sudden like extraordinary knowledge that she basically can't die? Although there is a degree of obfuscation in the background of the central group, there is the suggestion that they have it's seemingly impossibly lost someone that many seemingly centuries ago they have lost somebody that used to be part of the collective. So I went into this not expecting very much, thinking that okay, Netflix have made inroads in the last few years with Oscar friendly material like Marriage Story and Roma, but I can't say that I had a particular amount of faith in this as a Netflix action project, given that recently we had Extraction with Chris Hemsworth, which, although very successful in Netflix terms, in terms of how much it was streamed, I thought was pretty dire. And certainly, I think if you're looking for popcorn spectacle, that frankly, that's something that I would want to experience on the big screen, on the biggest screen possible. Clearly, that we're just starting to inch forwards the possibility of cinemas being reopened again, and certainly something like The Old Guard is traditionally something that I would want to experience on the big screen, whereas something like Marriage Story, I don't necessarily have a problem with that experiencing on the small screen. So I thought, right, well, I'll temper my expectations ever so slightly, despite the fact that it's got Charlize Theron in it, who is terrific, yeah, usually. And I have to say, I was really pleasantly surprised by it. I didn't know anything about the graphic novel. I'm not a connoisseur of graphic novels anyway. And I have to say, I was really quite pleasantly surprised by this for a number of different reasons. I think, for example, the director, she made Beyond the Lights for Gugu Mbatha-Raw, which was a really great little indie drama from 2014, which had a really soulful attention to detail in the way that she elicited good performances from the actors. And I think that same sense of feeling underscores this, despite the fact that it is essentially a fantastical concept. What she has done, the director has done, is she has worked not too dissimilar to what Christopher Nolan did in his Dark Knight trilogy to ground an essentially fantastical concept in a kind of utilitarian reality that we can recognise, which I think she does that very well. I think she locates various very well handled close quarters action set pieces in a variety of environments that are recognisable, whether it's a war zone or whether it's a London tower block. Various things. There's one actually set in a church. I think that is actually done very well, and what it does is it brings you, relatively speaking, down to earth with what is essentially a fantastical concept about immortal beings who are going through their latest iteration of their various battles. And I think also that feeds into what is narratively, I think, quite well expressed, particularly through the Charlize Theron character, which is what is it about the sense of ennui and jaded melancholy that you would feel had you lived for so long as an immortal creature? What would that do to start to weigh on you in terms of, God blimey, I've been through so many battles already, and now we're coming into this latest threat, which is there is a character, an evil corporate CEO character who wants to harness the genetic code of our main duo in order for nefarious ends, and he is just but the latest threat that this group have tackled throughout their exhaustive lives. And what is it about that sense of like ennui? And Charlize Theron registers that very, very well. And what Charlize Theron is able to do really well, as has been evidenced in the likes of Atomic Blonde and Mad Max, is not only does she have a really commanding commitment to doing her own stunts, and she's brilliant at sort of conveying herself and expressing herself in those stunts, but she's also able to sketch in the character detail, even in when dealing with a fairly rote two-dimensional character like this. She is able, through her body language and through her facial expressions, to express that, again, that sense of melancholy, that it gives the impression of there being more depth than there might otherwise be in the hands of a less performance. She is really commanding, and she's really great, and she has carved out a niche of these empowering women-led action movies, not unlike what Sigourney Weaver was doing with Alien and Aliens throughout the 70s and the 80s. I think Charlize Theron really is she's picking up the mantle of what Sigourney Weaver was doing 20, 30 years ago, and I think that's terrific. I think the action scenes are really well handled. There isn't any of that horrible choppy editing that you get, for example, from a Michael Bay movie. You get a real sense of the spatial geography of the characters. The fight choreography is really well done. I think Kiki Lane, who many people would know from If Beale Street Could Talk, acquits herself really well. And I think there is definitely a sense that this is being set up as the first chapter in a potential series of movies. And Kiki Lane's character, one assumes, will start to grow into her character's abilities, and she's really good and really charismatic. I like the fact that there is the objectivity in the treatment of the women characters. There's no preaching or sanctimony about the fact that this is a universe in which you have strong women characters. It's just presented to you in a very, very matter-of-fact way, not unlike it was in Mad Max. And it's like, just accept it and get on board with it. And I think it's a credit to the film that I did. It didn't feel heavy-handed at all. And there is wry humour in the movie, maybe not as much as I would have liked, but certainly the idea is that when Charlize Theron is playing a person for whom death is no longer this great big terrifying abstract thing. She has lived through so much violence, and that is kind of writ large in her performance, but it's also exploited for some dark humour as well. I think in the final act it does definitely go down into more of a conventional hero-villain conflict, and I think there are various plot threads that are kind of introduced and then resolved and then discarded, maybe a little bit too much, but for the most part I actually liked it a lot more than I thought I would. It's called The Old Guard. It's available on Netflix. If you have watched it or are planning to watch it, drop me a comment here at Kubrick Corner, and I'll see you soon. Bye.